Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Coding Techniques again. Today we are going to design the single trip screen for our travel application. So you have already seen how we have designed the app landing screen, which is looking awesome out there. It's time to design the single screen. But before getting started, I would like to tell you that if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that up. Let's hit 1K pretty soon. And also, if you haven't checked my Udemy course, then do check that out. It's running in bestseller right now at Udemy. So go and check it right now. Links are there in the description. So with that being said, let's get started with our video. So as you can see, my application is already up and running out here, which we have built in our previous video. Alright, so now in order to make the single trip page, what we are going to do, when we click on this particular trip, it will redirect to that particular single trip page. That's what we are going to do out here. And for doing that up, at first what I'll do is I'll create a page called trip, Ionic G page. Within the pages folder, within the tabs folder, I'll create a page called trip. So the page is created now. Let's go to the tabs page, routing module. So out here you can see the path is already declared. Now what I'm going to do, I will have the ID out here, so that the trip which is selected, the ID of that is going to pass, so that we can get the single trip out here. And in order to make the routing work, I have to pass the router link to our, not to the Ion row actually, to the Ion swiper, the Ion card. Let me pass it to the div out here, because for the whole Ion card I cannot pass because we have another button out here. So to this div, let me pass router link, which will be equals to /tabs, then trip, then the trip ID. So which I'll get by using it in this manner, trip.id. Alright, and what I'll do is I'll simply copy this up and paste it to my Ion label also. Whoever clicks on the Ion label also can enter the single trip page, except the fab button. Alright, so I think this will work. Let's check this out. Now if I click on it, as you can see, it is getting redirected to the trip page, and we have the ID also out here. Fine. Now let's design this up. So let me close all these tabs, not needed, and I'll simply open up the trip page, HTML. Out here, I don't need any Ion header, or in fact I need that, but within the Ion content. So I'll pass it out here. To the Ion content, I'll pass full screen to true, and the color it's gonna be light. To the Ion header, I'll pass a class of Ion no border, and I also need to pass the background image. So I'll pass it dynamically in this manner. Background image equals to URL. Within the URL, you can pass the value of the dynamic data that you want to pass. Let me break it down a bit. Now it is more visible. As of now, let me just pass assets /imgs/ what's the name? Let me take any image. Let's go for Swiss Alps. Fine. And to the Ion toolbar, within that we'll have no title, so I'll remove it. Instead of that, I'm going to have Ion buttons slot to be, and it is not showing up right now. Don't worry, it will work. We need to pass some styling to that, then only it's gonna work. But first of all, let me design this up. So in the slot end, I will have an Ion fab button whose size will be small, and colors, it's gonna be white color. I'll have an Ion icon within that. The name of it will be heart outline, and the color will be dark. Similarly, I will have another Ion buttons at this start slot. Everything is gonna be same except the name, which is gonna be chevron back outline. Let me keep the color to be dark, and out here I'll pass the router link equals to /tabs/home. Fine. Now let's check the output of it. So as you can see, the buttons are showing up. Now let's go to our designing part and design all the things up out here. So in the SCSS, I'm going to work with the Ion content, where at first let me pass padding start to be 10 pixels, padding end to be 10 pixels, and padding top also to be 10 pixels. Then I'll work with the Ion header, where I'll pass the height to be 50 VH and the width to be 100%. For the background image, I'll pass background position to be center, background repeat to be no repeat, background size to be cover, and a border radius of 10 pixels. Alright, it is coming up but very small. Fine, let's work with the iron toolbar at first, to which I'll pass padding top to be 10 pixels and background to be transparent. Alright, so now out here you can see the full image. Well, the image size was smaller, so I just increased the size, and wherefrom I have taken all these pictures, these beautiful pictures, I'll show you right now. Well, all the pictures are taken mostly from these websites, PixAHive or Pixabay. So you get non-copyright images out here. So this is a Tursar Lake, and I've downloaded this medium size. Similarly for Swiss Alps, and similarly for Kailash and Banzir Canal. Alright, so all the images are taken from here itself, including the categories images too, so you can get it from here. Alright, free of cost and no copyright issues. Alright, with that being said, let's move ahead. So this is working nicely. Now we need few more things out here. So we need to design few more things out here. So let's do that in our SCSS. Within the iron toolbar, I'll work with the iron fab button, where I'll pass border to be 3 pixels, solid RGBA. I'll pass the white color, and an opacity of 0.5 will do the work. I'll also pass a border radius of 50 pixels to have it a round shape. Then the height to be 5 VH, width also to be 5 VH. And also we'll work on the iron icon to pass a font size of 1 rem, because this is looking too big out here. Let's check it now. So this border I want it to be rounded one. That is why all these things, the size and everything is defined out here. Now you can see it is looking really lovely, and a nice border with a background looking superb out here, isn't it? So with that being done, the next thing that we need to work with is to pass the title out here. So what I'll do, after the iron toolbar, I'll have an iron label whose color will be white, and I'll name it as Swiss Alps for the time being. Within that, I'll have a p tag where I'll pass a class of iron margin top, and within this p tag I'll pass an iron text where I'll pass this rupee symbol along with the other stuff. So 12k is the price, and after this iron text I'll pass a span where I'll write per person. Fine. After this is done, let's check this out. Alright, this is coming up, but we need to align it properly. So after the iron toolbar, what am I going to do? I'll have an iron label where I'll pass position to be absolute, left to be 0, bottom to be 0, so that we can have at the bottom left, right? I'll pass a padding of 15 pixels, font weight of bold, along with that a text shadow of 1 pixel, then 2 pixels. Color will be gray. Whether you're at GREY or GRAY, it will work. Then the font size to be little bigger, so 1.5 rem will do the work. I'll also pass some letter spacing, 0.5 pixels. To the p tag also I'll pass the margin top of 2.5 VH, and within the p tag I'll work with this pen. Out there the font size will be reduced to 0.55 rem and mark it as important, otherwise it's going to override that up. And even the font weight to be, I think normal will work, because we don't want the bold one. Let's check this out. Alright, this is coming up and nicely visible too. Fine. The next thing that we need to work with is the images on the right side, so that you can click on that and the image will change and show that one, which one you have clicked. So for doing that up, after the iron label, I will have a div where I'll pass a class of images, and within that I'm going to have an iron thumbnail where I'll pass the image tag. src will be assets/imgs/ let's give some other image, kailash.jpg. Fine. Let's have 2 more iron thumbnails, and we need to design that up also. As you can see, this is showing up. Now let's design it up. So I'll work with the images class, pass the position to be absolute, bottom to be 0, right to be 0. then a padding of 15 pixels. After that, I'm going to work with the iron thumbnail, where I'll pass the margin bottom to be 8 pixels, a border of 3 pixels, solid RGBA color, the dark color, and an opacity of 0.3. Then the border radius also I'm going to pass, which will be 5 pixels. Let's pass some background, linear gradient actually, the same one which we passed earlier, 315 degree, RGBA, white color, opacity 0.2 and 0%. Then again the next color will be RGBA, 60, 60 the dark color, and an opacity of 0.2, percentage will be 74%. That's it. The last thing will be the height and width. That also let me pass because that is very important. And to the image also I'll pass height and width of 100% and a border radius of 5 pixels. Too much of designing, but you will see the result directly. Alright, this is showing up, isn't it? So we are good to go with this. We'll work on it later on. Now let's build up the other parts of the design and then we will work with the dynamic data. So in the HTML, what I'll do is, after the iron header, I'll work with the iron segment, where I'll pass an event iron change, segment changed, function will be passed, which will trigger an event, and the value that is getting changed will be passed out here, and I'll name it as segment value. Also, I'll pass a class of iron padding horizontal. That will be needed. Now let's declare this thing up in our TypeScript. So out here I'll have the segment value, which will be equals to 1, and the segment changed function that will hold an event. I'll simply set my segment value to this event dot detail dot value. If you want to check the value of this event, you can just console that up. Logging that up will show the value of it. Fine, it will be changed. First, let me have something within my iron segment, otherwise it's going to give me some problem. So I'll have the iron segment button within that, whose value will be 1, and within that we'll have an iron label, and I'll name it as overview. I'll simply copy it up and paste it again, change the value to 2 and the name to reviews. So now you can see the iron segment is working. If I click on reviews, it is working, overview working. So by default the value is 1, so that is why this overview is getting triggered at first. And if you want to just see the value of the console log, you can check it out here. If I just open it up, detail.value, it is showing the value out here. Alright, so that's how you get the value. So once that is done, the next thing that we need to work with in our HTML, I'll have an iron grid that will show up only if segment value equals to 1, and within that I'll pass the iron row and then an iron column of size 6, where I'll have an iron item, lines will be none, iron icon, name equals to time, slot will be start, and color will be primary. Then an iron label will be passed, where I'll have an iron text. I'll write duration out here and the color will be medium. Then a p tag, where I'll just have the iron text, and 5 hours duration of the trip is there. That's what it meant. And the color I'll pass it as dark. Let's check the output. So now you can see something is coming up. Okay, it will be primary, spelling was wrong. And now we need to design this up a bit, but before that let me copy this iron column and paste it one more time. This time the icon name will be star, the text will be rating, and it will read 4.8 out of 5. Alright, this is coming up. Well, this will be star, not start. Sometimes it happens, not to worry. Let's design this up now. Let's go to our SCSS, and out here after the images, or after the iron header I would say, let's work with the iron segment button, where I'll pass the padding top to be 10 pixels because I want little padding out here. And after that we can directly work with the iron row, in which let's work with the ion column where we have the ion item. We'll pass a background to our ion item of RGBA color, white color, opacity 0.2 will work. Also a border radius of 10 pixels will look really nice out there. And to the ion icon, what I'll do, well, as you can see out here, there's a slight border which is looking really lovely out here, isn't it? Now to the ion icon, let's pass a font size of 1 rem or 1.5 rem, little bigger. Margin right to be 15 pixels, and also I'll pass a border of 1 pixel solid. RGBA color 248, 156, little dark color 150, 0.2 opacity. Now the border radius of 50 pixels and a background of RGBA 248, same one actually. So I'll simply copy it up and paste it out here. Let's check this out. Fine, this is looking nice. Similarly, let's work with the ion label where I'll work with the ion text. Pass a font size of 0.6 rem because that was a little smaller. And after that, we'll work with the p tag. Within that also we have the ion text, and I'll pass the font size to be 0.9 rem, and we have to make it important so that it will work nicely. And a font weight of bold. Also we'll pass a text shadow of 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 2 pixels, gray color. Let's check this out now. Now you can see how lovely it is looking, isn't it? Very precise and very nicely watchable. I'm loving it. Now the only thing that is left is to work with the footer, and before that we need to have a description. Let's work with the footer at first. So ion footer, we'll pass a class of ion no border, and even let's have some padding. Also I'll pass the color to be light. Within that I'll have the ion button, expand to block, color will be dark, and the size will be a large one. Out there we will work with the ion text because I don't want the text to be the bigger one, so I'll pass it within the ion text so that I can apply some changes out there. And we will also have an ion icon within the ion button. I'll pass a class out there of ion padding start, and the slot will be end. Name, it's gonna be arrow forward outline. Let's check this out now. So as you can see now, the text is quite big. We need to work with the SCSS to work on it. So I'll access the ion footer, the ion button within that, where I'll pass the border radius a bit more of 10 pixels will look nice, and we'll work with the ion text within that, where the font size I'll pass it as 1 rem, and text transform, I don't want it to be the capitalized one by default, so I'll just make text transform to none, and this will keep the text as it is. So, and I'll also work with the ion icon where I'll pass font size to be 0.9 rem and a font weight of normal, because by default it is getting the bold one. I don't want that. Let's check this out now. Now it is looking really lovely. So the last thing that is left to do is to work with the description. So in the ion grid, I'll have another ion row. Within that I'm going to pass an ion text. The color will be medium, and a class of ion text justify, so that the aligning will be looking pretty good, and ion padding horizontal. What else do I need to pass? An extra class called description where we can work with that a bit more. Fine. So out here I have to pass some text, so let me take some text, lorem ipsum text. So let me simply copy any dummy text, and what I'll do is I'll paste it out here. Alright, the text is coming up. Now what I'll do, in my ion row, I'll work with the ion text of class description, and will pass a font size to be 0.8 rem, so that it's gonna look smaller and then it's gonna look pretty nice. Along with that, let me also pass the font weight to be 200, I think, and a font size of, I think, instead of 0.875, I think will look much better. Alright, this is looking horrible actually. So font weight, I think 500 will look nice. I think I'm happy with that. This is looking good. If you want to increase the size, you can do that out here. I'm okay with this. It is readable out here and looking very nice. So this is done. The designing part is done. And even if you just check this out, you can just have some design for the review also. I'll leave it up to you. Now out here, let's work on the dynamic data. So for the dynamic data, at first, what I'll do, I'll copy this array from here and paste it out here also. I don't think I need to initialize this out here because this is the data which you will be calling from the server. So I'm just showing it up. If you don't have a server right now, like we are just working with the dummy data, so you just need to fetch one record from here, and that's what you're going to do based on the ID. So I'll simply access the ID out here directly. For that I need to use private route, activated route. So out here I'm going to use this .route.snapshot.paramap.getID, and in this manner I'll get the ID. Then I'll console this up to check the ID. If ID does not exist, then I'll simply go back. For that I have to use public nav controller. We need to import it up. So this is how we can navigate back if there is no ID out here as such. Now what this ID means is basically, if you just go to the tabs page, routing module, out here you will see an identifier, right? So whatever the name you pass out here, you have to pass it out there directly in that same manner. If you pass ID1, you have to pass ID1 out there. All right, remember that this has to be the same. So once you get the ID, we'll check it out, don't worry. If the ID exists, because if it doesn't, then you will simply return. So if the ID exists, then what I do is I'll initialize this dot item, or you can say trip also, will be equals to this dot trips dot find, and I'll find that particular record which matches with x dot id will be equals to the ID that I've got out here. Fine. And this item, I'm going to declare it out here, item of type any. Okay, I'm getting an error out here because it is saying that this will return a number and this is a string. So what I'll do is I have to convert this to a number. Then I'll get some error out here. And alright, so what I'll do, alright, I'll not do it out here anything. I'll simply, if I'm getting some ID, definitely I'll convert it to parse int. Fine. Now the error is gone, or there is another solution. You just make it a string out here everywhere. Let's check whether do we get the ID or not. So the page is loaded. Now I'll just go out here and you can see the ID is getting called, right? So this is working. Now the thing is that I need to pass this data out in my HTML. So what do we have? We don't have the rating, actually we have to pass that up. What all things do we have? Let me first do that up. So at first let me pass the name. So item dot name, this question mark is very important, otherwise if you don't have the value, it's gonna give you the error. Dot price, what else do we have? This images, I'll work on it. We have nothing else actually declared in this particular array. So it happens that in the home page, when you're calling with the limited data, but in the details page you are calling with the maximum data. So that's what we will do out here. We will declare a few more things, such as the rating to be 4.5, then duration to be 5, that means hours in hours. Then we have the description. So I don't want that whole big description to be passed everywhere. So instead of that, what I'll do is, let me first cut this up, and out here if I create, no, not needed, let me pass directly only. I think that will be better instead of doing a lot of stuff which is little unnecessary sometimes. Okay, if you want to break it down, you can just do that up. What else do you need? So we need some more images of this, and for doing that up, I think I need an images array for that, so that I won't be calling this image actually, but I'll be using the other images, and within that, whichever image is clicked by default, that image is going to show up out here. Fine. I think I have to pass a comma out here. Yeah, so the Bunzir one. Then what else can we have? Let me pass one more image for the What do you say? So all these images we have out here. Let me pass. What all images can we pass for the Bunzir? Where is it? This one. The other images, let's pass 3.jpg for the second one. 3.jpg. And the last one, if you want to pass a maximum of 3 images, then the last one, let me pass. Which one should I pass? Let's pass this lake one. I think that's gonna look nice. So lake.jpg. Alright, I think that's gonna work. So with that being done, what I'll do, I'll pass the rating out here. Item.rating, item.duration, item.description. Now out here I'll work with an ng4. Let image of item.images array, where it's better that you pass 3 images only. If you have more than 3 images, you need to restrict that up, so you need to pass some condition out here. I'll leave that to you. So out here I will simply pass the image, and I'll remove all of it. If someone clicks on it, that image will be shown out there instead of this image. Fine. So change image, and I'll pass this image out there. Fine. Let's try that out. Change image. Now in order to change the image, what I'll do, out here I'll have current image, which is a string actually, and once this is set, what I'll do, this dot current image will be equals to this dot item dot images, and the first image I'm going to pass it out there. Fine. Similarly out here I'll simply pass this dot current image will be equals to the image that is being passed out here. That's it. Alright, done a lot of things. It's time to check it out if it is working properly or not. Alright, still it is not showing up. That's because I have to pass out here the current image. Now it's going to work. So as you can see, the image is showing up. Now if I click on this one, as you can see, the image got changed, but it is not showing up properly. I think the image is too big to show up. This is working nicely. This is fine. I think I need to change the second image. So what I'll do, out here, instead of this one, I'll pass, which one should I pass? Let me pass Swiss Alps. So I'm just changing the images as per the requirement, just to show you up. You can just make the proper data as per you like. Fine. Similarly, what I'll do is I'll simply copy this up, and in order to do it quickly, I'll directly paste it out here without spending a lot of time. Rating, if you want to give, you can change it up a bit. So the next one is already Swiss Alps, so I'll simply shift it. Fine. Similarly for this one also, paste it, and you need to change the first one. So I'll bring down the first to last and the last to the first, where I'll name it as Kailash.jpg. Rating is 4.9. The last one, Tarsar, SAR, I think it is JPEG only. Yeah, I think it is fine. Alright, I think everything looks okay. It's time to check the thing up. Alright, so let me click on this one. Coming up, this is also showing up. Let me go back. This is also working. Let me go to the Adi Kailash. It's working. Everything is working fine. Data is changing, isn't it? It is looking awesome, I would say. This is one of the best design which I have seen and I have built. So I'm really liking it a lot. Looking really awesome, I would say, from my own experience. So we are done with the designing of our travel application. Do let me know in the comment section if you like it, and if you really like it, also hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that up. Also do check my complete course on Ionic framework, where we have beginner to advanced level course. So do enroll in that course. It's gonna help you a lot. So with that being said, I'll wrap up this video out here. Thank you very much for watching it, and stay tuned to the channel for more such interesting videos.